What if the person you overlooked every day was secretly building an empire? For years, my family saw me as nothing more than a maid, someone who scrubbed floors, folded laundry, and faded into the background of their lives. They never asked about my dreams, my late nights, or the fire in my heart. They didn't know I was weaving a future they couldn't imagine, one that would change everything they thought they knew about me. My name is Elena Martinez, and I grew up in a small, dusty town where ambition was a luxury few could afford. My parents were immigrants working their fingers to the bone to keep food on the table. My mother cleaned houses, and my father worked construction. They taught me resilience, but they also taught me to stay in my lane. Work hard, keep your head down, Mama would say, her hands rough from years of labor. I loved them, but I wanted more, not just for me, but for all of us. At 16, I started cleaning houses to help with the bills. My older brother, Carlos, and my sister, Rosa, were chasing their own paths: college, careers, the kind of lives that seemed out of reach for me. I didn't mind. I loved the quiet rhythm of cleaning, the way a messy room could transform under my hands. But while I polished countertops, my mind was elsewhere, sketching ideas for apps, businesses, anything that could break the cycle of scraping by. I'd sneak into the local library after work, teaching myself to code on outdated computers, my fingers flying across keys while the world slept. By 25, I was still cleaning houses, but I'd save enough to buy a used laptop. That's when I started building it me dream. I called it HomeSpark, an app that connected cleaners, handymen, and other service workers directly with clients, cutting out exploitative agencies that took half their earnings. It was a simple idea, born from watching my mother come home exhausted, her wages barely enough to cover rent. I coded at night, tested during the day, and poured every spare cent into it. My family didn't notice. To them, I was just Elena, the maid. Carlos was a lawyer now, always busy with his high-profile cases. Rosa had her own boutique, her social media filled with glamorous photos. They'd invite me to family dinners, but I was always the afterthought, the one they asked to clear the plates. "Elena, you're so good at this," Rosa would say, laughing, as if my life's purpose was to tidy up after them. I'd smile, bite my tongue, and keep my secret. HomeSpark was growing, but I wasn't ready to tell them. Not yet. The twist came one Christmas when I was 30. I was at Rosa's house, scrubbing her kitchen floor while she hosted a party. A guest, a woman named Marissa, lingered in the kitchen, watching me work. She was a venture capitalist, sharp-eyed and curious. "You're meticulous," she said, not condescendingly, but with genuine interest. I shrugged, but she pressed. "What do you do when you're not this?" My heart raced. I hadn't planned to share, but something in her tone made me trust her. "I'm building an app," I said quietly. "It's called HomeSpark." Her eyes lit up. By the end of the night, she'd asked for a demo. Marissa became my first investor. Within months, HomeSpark exploded. The app hit 1 million downloads, and service workers across the country were earning fair wages through it. I hired a team, moved into a small office, and watched my dream become a reality. But to my family, I was still just a maid. They didn't know because I didn't tell them. Part of me feared their disbelief, their laughter. Another part wanted to prove I could do it without their validation. The turning point came at a family reunion. Carlos, Rosa, and their spouses were there, along with Mama and Papa. The conversation turned to success, as it always did. Carlos bragged about a case he'd won. Rosa showed off photos of her new storefront. I stayed quiet, serving food, refilling drinks. Then Rosa's husband, Greg, pulled out his phone. "Hey, have you guys heard of HomeSpark? It's this app everyone's talking about. Some genius built it from nothing." My heart stopped. I kept my eyes on the table, but I could feel Mama's gaze on me. "Who's the founder?" Carlos asked, scrolling on his phone. Greg shrugged. Some woman named Elena Martinez. The room went silent. Rosa laughed, thinking it was a joke. Elena Martinez? Like our Elena? She turned to me, still chuckling. No way, right? I took a deep breath, my hands trembling onto the table. It's me, I said softly. They stared dumbfounded. Carlos shook his head. You're a maid, Elena. You don't even have a degree. His words stung, but I held my ground. Google it, I said, my voice steady. Rosa grabbed her phone, her fingers flying. Her face paled as she read. Elena Martinez, founder and CEO of HomeSpark, a multi-million-dollar tech company revolutionizing the service industry. Her voice trailed off. Mama's eyes filled with tears. Papa looked like he'd seen a ghost. Carlos kept scrolling, his jaw tight. You did this? He asked, almost accusingly. I nodded. While I was cleaning your houses. The room erupted in questions, apologies, and disbelief. Rosa hugged me, sobbing, saying she was proud, but also ashamed. Carlos, usually so composed, stammered an apology. Mama just held my hand, whispering, Why didn't you tell us? I didn't have a good answer. Maybe I wanted to protect my dream from their doubt. Maybe I needed to prove it to myself first. That night changed everything. My family saw Minute as the maid, but as the woman who'd built something extraordinary. They started asking about my life, my goals, my struggles. For the first time, I felt like I belonged at their table, not just cleaning it. But the real victory wasn't their recognition. It was knowing I'd done it for the right reasons, not to prove them wrong, but to lift up people like Mama, like me, who'd been invisible for too long. HomeSpark grew into a movement. Workers who'd once been exploited now had a platform to thrive. I met cleaners who'd started their own businesses, handymen who'd bought homes, single mothers who could afford college for their kids. Every story felt like a piece of my own. I'd built something that mattered, not just for me, but for thousands of others. Looking back, I don't resent my family for underestimating me. They were trapped in their own assumptions, just as I'd once been trapped in my own doubts. The truth is, I never stopped being the maid. I still love the satisfaction of a clean room, the quiet pride of hard work. But I'm also the CEO, the dreamer, the woman who turned her invisible labor into a legacy. So, what if the person you overlook is building an empire? Maybe it's time to look closer. You might be surprised by what you find.